Hello, Captains. I am your host, Brent Justice, and welcome to my gaming channel, Justice Gaming. In front of me, you will see I am in Star Trek Online, and this is the brand new Earth Spacedock that has been parked right outside of Earth in Star Trek Online. Yes, this is the same one from the Season 3 of Picard, also called the Probert Station, as I have come to find out. Now, the outer Earth Spacedock in Star Trek Online has gone through several incarnations, and I'm going to show that to you as we go over the blog post so we can look at some of the details about this. But in this video today, I basically just want to give you a tour of the new Earth Spacedock. We will fly around it and go take a closer look at it. I will also beam down inside and we'll take a look at a few of the sections inside. They also had to update so that it fit with this new Earth and this new Earth Spacedock, because it's not just the new Spacedock that they replaced in Star Trek Online. It is also the Earth outside, as you can see, is much bigger, and that is because it is no longer an object on the or in the same box, the same map box. It is actually outside of it, so that it can appear much bigger. But we'll take a look at all that, and I will do a tour around it. But before I jump into that tour, let's go look on the web page and get a detailed description of the new Earth Spacedock. All right, here we are at the PlayStarTrekOnline.com webpage, and I'm going to read the official blog so we can get a little bit of information about this new Earth Spacedock. So let's read. The Earth Spacedock on PC is getting a well-deserved facelift soon. We have a little surprise for you all, a Spacedock update. To give you an overview of our new update and a little bit of insight, we asked one of our environment artists to provide this blog for you. He might be familiar to some of you as Taco. I have heard that name quite a bit. What this update is about. In essence, we are replacing the exterior system space model of ESD. The current model has grown long in the tooth, and beyond that, we've seen a canon update to the Sol system via Star Trek Picard. In the third season of Star Trek Picard, we get to see the new Earth Spacedock, also known as Probert Station, and are treated to a celebration as the newly minted Enterprise F is seen exiting the docking bay. So it seems only right that we should realign our map to what we have seen on screen. Now here are actual pictures from Season 3 of Picard. So this is obviously where they took the inspiration and developed what I think is a very faithful to the series recreation of Earth Spacedock. Some of you will have been around long enough to remember the OG Earth Spacedock model that we had in Star Trek Online. When STO first launched, it came with a, let's say, unique model for Earth Spacedock. This was a new design made in-house, which served the purpose, but did not match anything we'd seen on screen. It wasn't long before there was a push from players to replace it with something more canonical. And as you can see here, we have the smaller Earth. We have the original space station, definitely a different view from what we have now, definitely smaller. That push worked, and in 2011, the original ESD was replaced with a model based on the design first featured in Star Trek III and later used in TNG. It was great to have something that felt more familiar. That model has served us well for over a decade now. The design is solid, but the model itself is from another time, and we can do better now. So much better now. And this was, of course, what we have been used to until now. Spacedock visuals. So, with that, let me introduce you to the new Earth Spacedock. As mentioned before, this design was taken from Season 3 of Star Trek Picard. We didn't have the official model to work from, so everything was built from screenshots of the show. We did have to extrapolate in places, but we are happy with how it ended up, and we think it's still very faithful to what we saw on screen. That is a shame they couldn't get the original models. As the official game of Star Trek, that would have been nice. I believe they should have handed those to them to let them work on it. The model here is no longer a single object, but is made up of many modular parts, which can be potentially reused in other configurations to represent future stations. The paneling and windows have been rebuilt to be closer on how ships are set up. That means that the windows are now a separate material, allowing for greater control over placement and distribution. In addition, the windows now have a slight parallax to them, giving them some apparent depth when viewed from an angle. Blinking lights have been added all over the station. Some of these were taken from what we've seen on the show, and others were added to help give the whole thing a more lived-in appearance. Blinking lights everywhere. The blue marble. We've been focusing on the station, but would feel a disservice to the humans not to mention that Earth has had a bit of a facelift. The goal here was to make Earth feel large again. We've struggled with this over the years and gone back and forth. One camp loves to be able to fly all the way around a planet. The other camp wants planets to feel massive. Unfortunately, they are mutually exclusive, simply due to the floating point math, which we can't or don't need to go into. So at this point, the pendulum has swung in favor of a massive Earth. This is newly constructed as a full sphere, using 8K textures broken up into sections so we can have the whole planet slowly spin, allowing you to see all sides of it, or at least of the northern hemisphere. The clouds map is set up in intersecting layers that also scroll and morph over time, all of which means that you will hopefully get a new view of Earth each time you load, or if you just get lost staring at it. Now, these sections they mention, I did notice that, and I'm going to mention that as we look at this a little bit closer. You can actually see those dividing lines, which is a little jarring, but it does allow the Earth to look like it is revolving. Okay, we get it. You made things prettier, but what about making things more usable? The functionality of the Sol system has not changed much, but there are some quality of life updates I hope will make life in orbit a little better. Accessing the ground map should be the same as before, with some slight tweaks. As you approach ESD, you'll get a hail from the dockmaster who will instruct you on docking procedures and offer to beam you into the station. If you choose to beam over, you will land predictably in one of the slots of the transporter pad. If you choose to continue toward the station and dock manually through one of the docking bay doors, you will instead enter ESD through one of the turbo lifts in the lower concourse, which I will show in this video. The volumes on the docking bay doors have now been inset into the docking bay itself, and while there is collision to prevent ships from sneaking in, there is no invisible collision for the camera, so you can swing your camera around to the inside of the docking bay looking out, all of which should give you a little more leeway for getting screenshots of your ships entering or leaving the station. Speaking of screenshots, since Earth now revolves, we couldn't maintain the geosynchronous orbit of San Francisco Fleet Yards over San Francisco, nor McKinley Station over Alaska. As such, the fleet yards have been removed entirely. However, McKinley Station has held on with its claw-like structure and is now placed in the far corner of the map. It's still tiny and alone, but should give you some good views of Earth as your ships get the TLC it needs. To make up for the loss of the fleet yards, I've added a variety of dry docks out in space along one edge of the map. They're tiny and offset at different heights, but you should be able to see some specks on the overhead map to indicate that they're there. All of the dry docks have now had their collision turned off entirely, which should make it easier to maneuver your ships into place. To be clear, none of these dry docks serve any kind of gameplay purpose. This is just for folks who want to take screenshots of their ships. As you can see, there's an example. Earth Spacedock ground map. We also made a few changes to the ESD ground map. Notably, the docking bay has been replaced with something that matches the exterior model. This is just a visual change, but it's significantly larger. I had always said previously that I was only willing to put ships into the docking bay that would actually fit through the doors. That is still true. However, we've canonically seen the Enterprise F fly through these doors now, so there is a much wider variety of ships that can be placed in the docking bay. To that point, we've also changed how we create ground scale maps. The new method makes the process a little faster and easier. The hope is that we'll be able to rotate ships in the docking bay more regularly. With the docking bay changes come more minor changes to Admiral Quinn's office. You'll see that the docking bay map has been replaced with a galaxy map, and the schematic view of ESD has been updated in addition. The holographic representation of ESD and Ops has been updated. Ships will still circle the station periodically, but we've had to change how those work with this update, and as such, I can no longer keep the holographic cards in sync with those orbiting ships. As such, the holo cards have been removed. The lower deck ESD, Deck 83, which has been used for UGC originally but no longer serves that purpose, has been removed. This was done largely because it was conflicting with the new, larger Earth, the same as you see in the Sol system map. While it's sad to remove it, I think the trade-off for a full globe animated Earth on the ground map as well as space is worth it. So no more lower sections. Lastly, you'll notice a couple of Type 14 shuttles have been added to the shuttle bay, as well as the shuttles runabouts that fly through now and then. There's an example of that new shuttle flying through. And that about covers it. Thanks for taking this little tour around the revamped Sol system. I hope the updated station will serve you well for years to come. So that's an overview of the updates. Let's go back to the game now and do a tour. Okay, welcome back from that. Now we have a pretty good history on the different stations that Star Trek Online has had. It started with a very simple kind of general sci-fi looking station, turned into the more mushroom starbase, as we'll call it, the new mushroom starbase that was well known and seen in the Star Trek movies and, of course, TNG as well. And that has been an iconic space station. So it being in Star Trek Online, obviously that fit very well. But Star Trek Online has decided to go forward and change the outer appearance of the space station to be in line with the season 3 of Picard. And I will just say this, we do know that now Discovery was an alternate timeline. It was a different timeline or alternate universe. That actually is official from the lower decks. We saw that. If you want more information on that, perhaps I can make a video, but that does exist. Question is Picard in an alternate universe, or is it in the prime timeline? That is yet to be determined. Many fans will say that Picard is perhaps an alternate universe and doesn't quite go in line with this, and therefore the station would not make sense in the game if this is the prime universe. A lot of discussion can be had about that and a lot of debate, so be sure to post below and let me know what you think about the outcome of all that. But what we do know is that Star Trek Online has chosen to embrace this new version of the Starbase from Season 3 of Picard, and here it is in the game. As we can see, Star Trek Online has completely changed the space around as well. You will see everything has been updated in this map. The very first thing that you will notice is that Earth is extremely large in the background. Yes, it is extremely large. You can no longer fly around Earth. It is a static object behind the game map, so you are never going to be able to fly to it. In fact, if you try, you will be flown or flung back around and warped back in. You cannot do it. However, if you stay still, and we'll stay still for a second, my ship is not moving. The Earth appears to be rotating. However, it is not really rotating. It's just the clouds are moving, the outer layer. And in fact, the visual is not perfect either. I have noticed this in a few locations, but if you look right here, see this line coming down through here and up through here. You will find this in several places on the Earth. If you stop and look at it straight on, you will see parts where, I don't know, some kind of division that they have had to make there for the animation probably. So that unfortunately does exist. That takes away from the experience just a little bit. It is just something I did notice and I wanted to mention because you can clearly see a line division there, and I think it definitely deals with the animations. They seem to be popping out from this line as it goes into this line, probably in sections. They probably have it sectioned off, like this section are these clouds moving, then this section is this series, probably to reduce load. The game is a very old game engine. Its memory capacity very limited. Probably have to do it for those reasons. But it is something that is quite noticeable when you look at the Earth from certain angles or look directly on. Just wanted to mention that. However, I do like the fact that we have a big Earth again. It is not a smaller Earth. In the last one, the Earth was pretty small, but you could fly all the way around it. Now it is in the background. It's huge. I like the bigger aspect of it, to be honest. I think that makes more sense. It would be that big, you know, compared to where you are in orbit. So I think the location and the size of it was definitely an improvement, and I think the cloud layer looks pretty darn good, to be honest with you. For this game, I think it does. But let's look at the space station now. That's what we're all here for. As you can see, the new space station, if you haven't seen Season 3 of Picard, I recommend watching it. Go ahead and skip Season 1 and 2. Trust me, you're not missing a thing. Go straight to Season 3, and you will see this space station pop up there. This space station, as we saw, was there in the dedication of the Enterprise F in that series. I really do like the looks of this station. I think this is a great upgrade from the traditional mushroom station because you have the traditional mushroom features. It's all there, it's just bigger and expanded, and it has more pods coming off of it. Naturally, it would get bigger over time and expand. I kind of see this space station as an extension of what basically has happened with our own space station that we have in space, where modules were added over time to expand on it and make it bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think that makes a lot of sense for this space station. So let's just do a little fly around. We can get pretty close to these pods here in this version. In fact, if you go right on it, you can actually kind of stick your ship inside just a little bit and clip into it, so that's fun. I enjoy doing that quite a few times. It has a lot of, I'm going to say, communications equipment, antenna array, perhaps sensor arrays. Somebody tell me, what do you think all of these things on the top of all of these do? There's a lot of spires on that one as well. What do they do? I'm going to say communications. I'm also going to say perhaps emitters, maybe shield emitters, that sort of thing. Now, interestingly, there is this ship that is like not docked here, but just sitting out in space, and I don't know why it's here, and it's just one. I don't think there's any others, but this is just a random ship sitting out here. This is not a player ship. We can click on it, and we see that it is called the USS Redoubt. No information on it. It does have a hull strength of 161,000. I don't know why it's there or what it's meant to represent. Perhaps it's a ship where they can continue to hide that. Perhaps it's a ship where they can continue to revolve new ship designs or new ships there for people to take a look at in space. I think that would be a good idea for them to do. I hope they do continue to do something like that. But it is the only one that's static out there. I think everyone else is a player out here. So you can see each of these little pods has a ship bay themselves. They can actually fit a ship of some size in there. So that's interesting that the little pods have little, places for ships to dock inside as well. Now, I'm assuming that if ships want to dock on the outside, I'm not quite sure where they do that. Maybe down here on this ring. I'm not quite sure. But we'll come take a closer look. On this side, you can see the docking bays in here. You can kind of see the inside actually looks pretty good from the outside. As you get closer, you do slow down. You cannot do full impulse around the station, so you move at a snail's pace just like before. And if you fly into that, it will load you into the ground ESD. So take note, it will do that for sure. I gotta fly far away so that I can get my impulse speed back. We have some lights up here. It's got shadows that will appear from your ship and other things out there in space, so it does have dynamic lighting on it. That's good to see. Let's go take a look at the bottom areas. Got kind of UFO lights down here. Got some spiky things on the bottom. Don't know what the spiky things do. Somebody give me your suggestions, question marks of, what do you think those could be? Let me know your suggestions. What do you think all these little spiky things down here are? What do they do? I'm curious about that. Now, here's what I really found interesting. You have the reversed or upside down mushroom, right? But look underneath it. This is really exciting. Look at all of these pods, antennae, whatever you want to call them. It's almost like a whole city underneath this reversed mushroom. We have, I'm guessing, habitats, maybe outposts for people to view things, viewing habitats perhaps, or maybe they're apartments, maybe people live in these. Who knows, but it does feel like a city underneath the space station, a very large city, like lives under the space station. And then you come down, I'm assuming this is kind of reactor area here. You'd have to have the reactor somewhere. And then down here at the very bottom, more spiky bits. And who knows what they all do, but could you imagine, I was trying to imagine somebody like going to this little port down here, this little viewing area down here. I'm gonna assume this would be a really cool place for someone to go and look out the window and be at the bottom down here and look out toward Earth. How it's separated into space would you feel from that? That would be a very exciting feeling, and having the entire space station above you. What a view that is. An amazing view. Anyway, yeah, that's pretty much the space station, the new space station. I think it's a very good update. I think it looks really good. And if it's canon, it's canon, and I think it looks good. If it's not, then it'll be out of place. But I do think, even if it isn't, I think it's a good progression of what the ESD or Earth Space Station should look like and should continue to evolve to. Like, it would continue to evolve to this, So this is a natural progression that I think makes a lot of sense. And it looks quite good on the Earth backdrop there, with Earth as a backdrop. I think that looks really, really good. Some other things that have been updated out here, we have some new docks for ships. I believe these docks have been updated, so they look a little more up to date. You can park your ship in them. I think the ones out here are bigger, and we can see someone has their ship out here, so let's go take a look at that, because these are even bigger. Yeah, look at these. You can definitely fit your ship in there. These are definitely have that more updated feel, so you get to do a little bit of ship docking in there. I think that's pretty cool. But these look pretty good. There you go, in the dock. So that has been updated. Now, I'm not sure what this is. Is this a planet that we're looking at? Perhaps is that Mars or Venus? I just now noticed this, and I've never seen that before, but there is a static dot in the sky up there. We just don't know what it is exactly, but I'm going to guess it's one of the planets. It's either Venus or Mars, but yeah, I never noticed that before. Now, we do have the captain's table still out here, so let's take a look at that. So you can go to the captain's table, so that still exists way out here. And we've got the moon, and another distant object. I'm gonna guess that's Mars, and that must be Venus. That's my guess. If so, that makes a lot of sense. Now, we do have the moon. The only thing that I am not too jazzed about is they did not take the opportunity to update the moon. And by that I mean they could have put some cities on there. That we know that the moon is colonized in this time frame. We know there's Riker mentions Armstrong Lake, in one of the movies. So we know there's cities out there, and it would have been cool to have seen this from a distance, to see some lights on there, something to indicate that there's a colony, a bunch of dotted lights or something in a darker patch to indicate that there's a colony there. I think that would have been a nice touch, and this would have been an opportunity for them to do it, and they did not. So that's sad to see, but what can you do? Maybe a future update. We have the Milky Way, arm of the Milky Way galaxy there, so that's beautiful to see. We have the warp-in locations are here as well. As you warp in, we'll see the conglomeration of ships, but you've got one section here when you warp in. I think that one's from sector space, and the other one from when you come in from beaming up is in a different place. I think it's like right here. So something like that, but you'll see those when you come in. Yeah, so that's it. I do want to show you what happens when you try to go to the edge of the map. So I'm going to go ahead and fly to the edge of the map. We're coming up on the edge here, and you'll see what happens. We'll come right to the edge, and we'll let it keep going. It auto-warps the ship right back into place. So unfortunately, with this new map, you can't go to the edge of the map and stay there, and you can't fly for a long time and stay in space. So here's where it warps you in. If you're coming from sector space, it comes into this location, or maybe it's the other way around. One of these locations is, one of these is sector space, and one of these is when you beam up from ESD. They come to different locations. Anyway, I don't like the auto warp in from the edge of the map. I wish it didn't do that, personally. But let's go into the dock here. Let's take a look on the ground level. And as you'll see, as we fly in here, it will land us, and we will beam into Earth Spacedock automatically. Don't have to do anything. Of course, it did that in the last one as well. And when it leaves you beaming in from one of these elevators. I have beamed in some on that side and then some on this side. So you come in on either side, kind of random. Now I want to show you some of the things they had to change inside Spacedock. So let's take a look inside Spacedock. The first thing they had to change is obviously this map. The map that you look outside of from the shipyard. It is bigger in there. They can fit some bigger ships. They can also fit more ships in there. So that's a good view. You can see multiple ships in there docked. Some pretty big ones, so they can fit big ships in there, they can fit small ships in there, and they can showcase different ships there. So that has been updated to represent the new bigger inside shipyard area. And then as you come around here, you'll see it fills the whole window all the way from there all the way across. So this entire window space is filled up with that. One of the other places that they had to work on was the areas here at the shuttle bay where you see outside of Earth Spacedock. They had to update the Earth in those, and so they have. You'll see the new Earth back there. Looks much bigger out of the shuttle entrance there, so that's bigger. The ships still fly across there, but everything is just sized. And also you can see into the new bay from here as well. So that's good. That's all there. Let's go look at the last remaining update that they have done. All right, here is the last update that they've done. You can see that out of this window coming from the commander's office here, or admiral's office, we have the new Earth in the background, very big, and it has a very kind of hazy looking atmosphere, or dark, almost looks like pollution atmosphere, which wouldn't be accurate for Earth in this time period, but perhaps it's just the way the light is shining on it. But we can see some of the ship docks out there, the sun coming in this side, and the new Earth here, and also the new space station hologram there. There is one more area we need to go look at that I just remembered, and it would of course be in the club area. So let's go see what they've updated in that area. Okay, in the club area, you can see that looking off here, you can definitely see it's the same ships they had from the docking bay. Looks like we do have some visual glitches that are coming up, so that's something they'll have to work on. But as we turn our viewport there, you can definitely see there's some glitching or graphical problems, so this new update is not without problems. But it is the same ships from the docking area, just a different angle. So that seems to flow and work pretty well. Let's go look at the other side. Okay, coming from this side, we can definitely see this is the new view here as well. Ships going by. That works just fine. The big Earth in the background looks really good from this angle. I really like the looks of it, so that view works real well. Well, that's it, everybody. That is the brand new Earth Spacedock in Star Trek Online. Come and check it out and leave your comments below. Let me know what you think of this update overall, and what more should they do. I think the interior deserves a bit of an update, I believe. I think that would be great for the future. Again, I would like to see the moon updated a little bit. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Let me know your thoughts below. And thank you all for watching this video. I hope you have a very, very, very blessed day. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next one.